Right, so get ready for a deep dive into something a little different today. We're tackling a Hot Ones episode.
Oh, wow.
And not just any episode. It's Ryan Reynolds and Hugh Jackman.
Oh, cool.
You know, Deadpool and Wolverine.
Yeah.
They're promoting their new movie. But trust me, this goes way beyond your typical promo interview.
What's really fascinating about Hot Ones is how it just breaks down that celebrity facade, you know?
Right.
You get to see these actors who are usually so polished and media trained, squirming and sweating under the pressure of increasingly spicy wings.
Yeah, it's a totally different side of them.
It's a fascinating window into their real personalities.
Okay, so we've got these two megastars, legendary superhero suits,
Yes.
and enough hot sauce to melt steel.
Yeah.
Where do we even begin?
Well, I think we got to start with the suits because they really are iconic.
Yeah.
Both Reynolds and Jackman consider theirs to be among the best in the superhero genre, and I'd have to agree.
They're pretty awesome.
There's something about a well-designed superhero suit that just elevates the entire film.
Reynolds is especially proud of his Deadpool suit.
Oh, yeah.
It was designed by this guy named Russ Shankle. Calls him a genius.
Wow.
And you can see why the suit's incredibly detailed and perfectly captures the character's irreverent spirit.
But here's what I find really interesting. Jackman claims he wore his Wolverine suit non-stop for 2 years.
Well, 2 years?
2 years.
Wow.
You'd think he'd want to get out of that thing the moment filming wrapped.
Yeah, you would think so, right?
Right.
Maybe it became like a second skin, or maybe he just loved the way it made him feel powerful and intimidating, ready to take on the world.
Yeah, it makes you wonder about the psychological impact of costuming.
How interesting.
How much does wearing a particular outfit actually influence an actor's performance? Do they become more immersed in the character?
Right.
Do the lines between fiction and reality start to blur?
Ooh, that's a good question. And
Ah.
speaking of blurring the lines, these guys had some pretty interesting jobs before they hit the big time.
Oh, yeah.
Reynolds, believe it or not, was a forklift driver
What?
at a Safeway in Vancouver.
Right. It's a far cry from the red carpets of Hollywood, isn't it?
Totally. It's a reminder that everyone starts somewhere,
Yeah.
and often those early jobs are far from glamorous.
Absolutely.
And he didn't just drive the forklift. He apparently crushed his ankle on it.
Oh, no.
Not once, but twice.
Ouch.
Talk about a dedicated employee.
There's a certain resilience there, a willingness to push through discomfort and even pain to achieve a goal.
Yeah.
It's a quality that probably served him well in his acting career.
Oh, absolutely. And then we have Jackman, who was a birthday party clown.
Oh, wow. Can you imagine Wolverine entertaining a bunch of screaming kids?
I know, right?
That image alone is worth the price of admission. But here's the kicker. Jackman admits he was terrible at it.
Oh, no.
He tells the story about an 8-year-old who just straight up told him he was crap.
Ouch, talk about brutal honesty.
Yeah.
But you have to admire Jackman's humility. He's not afraid to laugh at himself, even when it comes to his less-than-stellar past.
Yeah, it's a good reminder that even the most successful people have had their share of failures and setbacks.
Right. It's how we learn, how we grow, how we become the people we are today.
Okay, buckle up because things are about to get juicy.
Okay.
Reynolds drops a bombshell about their new movie, a story that's never been heard before.
What?
They actually considered shooting a fake, intentionally bad movie as a decoy.
A decoy?
Yeah.
You mean like a misdirection tactic to throw off fans and the media?
Exactly. They were going to call it Alpha Cop. And Reynolds even had a poster made.
Wow.
The tagline was, 2 cops, 1 brain, all balls.
Oh my gosh.
It was supposed to be this over-the-top action comedy, complete with cheesy dialogue and ridiculous stunts. They were going to trick everyone into thinking it was the real deal.
That's a bold move. It speaks to a certain level of strategic thinking.
Right.
A willingness to play the media game and manipulate expectations, but also a bit of mischief, wouldn't you say?
Oh, absolutely. It's like they were daring the audience to figure it out.
Right.
But ultimately, they decided the risk of the plan leaking was too high.
Yeah.
They didn't want to disappoint fans or spoil the surprise. Which is understandable. The internet moves fast, and secrets are hard to keep, especially in the world of superhero movies, where fans are constantly scouring the web for any scrap of information.
Speaking of internet leaks, Jackman chimes in with his own harrowing tale.
Oh.
Remember X-Men Origins? Wolverine.
Yeah.
Well, the entire movie was leaked online a week before its release.
Now that's got to be any filmmaker's worst nightmare. Imagine pouring your heart and soul into a project only to have it pirated and distributed illegally before it even hits theaters. It's not just about the potential financial loss, it's about the artistic violation.
Jackman talks about how demoralizing it was for the cast and crew, and to make matters worse, The leaked version was full of unfinished special effects.
Oh, no.
So it wasn't even the final cut of the film.
That's brutal. It raises questions about the ethics of leaking unfinished work.
Yeah.
Are we so eager for content that we're willing to compromise the creative process? And what about the impact on the artists involved? It's a complex issue with no easy answers.
Definitely food for thought. So we've got superhero suits, forklift mishaps, leaked movies, and this is just the beginning. Hold on tight, because we're about to dive deeper into the minds of Ryan Reynolds and Hugh Jackman as fueled by hot wings and insightful questions.
You know, as they're sweating and struggling through these ridiculously hot wings, they start to open up about some pretty interesting stuff. Like Reynolds gets into this whole debate about budget versus creativity.
Oh, really? What's his take on that?
Well, he basically argues that sometimes having too much time and money can actually stifle the creative process.
Huh. That's not something you hear every day, especially from a guy who's starred in some of the biggest budget movies out there.
Right.
You'd think he'd be all about the spectacle.
You would think. But he makes this good point. He says that when studios focus too much on the visual effects and the big set pieces, it often comes at the expense of character development and story.
So it's like they're so busy creating this dazzling visual feast that they forget to feed the soul of the movie.
Exactly. And ultimately, what makes a movie truly memorable is how it makes us feel.
Right.
It's those moments of genuine human connection, the characters we can relate to, the stories that stay with us long after the credits roll.
I guess you can have the most amazing special effects in the world.
Yeah.
But if the characters are flat and the story is weak, it's not going to resonate with audiences.
It reminds me of those classic indie films that were made on a shoestring budget.
Hi, Greg.
They had to rely on clever writing, strong performances, and innovative filmmaking techniques to capture the audience's attention.
Maybe there's something to be said for working within limitations.
Yeah.
When you have constraints, you have to be more resourceful, more creative.
Like that saying, necessity is the mother of invention.
Okay, enough about big budgets and creative struggles.
Right.
Let's lighten the mood a bit.
Okay.
There's this hilarious moment where Jackman talks about singing the Australian national anthem at a rugby match.
Oh, yeah, that was a classic Hot Ones moment.
Yeah.
Picture this, a stadium packed with almost 1 million screaming fans. And Hugh Jackman Wolverine himself is about to belt out the national anthem.
I'd be terrified.
He talks about practicing in the locker room, trying to calm his nerves, when someone informs him that there's an additional billion people watching on TV.
1 billion people.
Or billion people.
More than the entire population of, well, a lot of continents.
Talk about stage fright.
Yeah.
Jackman says it was the most scared he's ever been in his life.
I bet. But, hey, at least he nailed the performance.
He did. And you know, it's interesting. He said that experience made everything else in his career, from hosting the Tonys to waiting for box office numbers, seem less daunting.
Wow.
It's like he conquered his ultimate fear.
Yeah. It's almost like those early jobs we were talking about.
Right.
The forklift driving and the birthday party clowning. They all force these guys to step outside their comfort zones and confront their fears.
Exactly.
And ultimately, those experiences shape them into the successful, resilient individuals they are today.
It's a good lesson for all of us, really. Sometimes the things that scare us the most are the very things that have the power to transform us.
So true. But let's not forget, these guys are in the middle of a Hot Ones challenge.
Oh, yeah.
The wings are getting hotter, the sweat is flowing, and the tears are starting to well up.
And just when they think they can't handle any more heat, the host throws in a curveball.
Oh.
He brings out paddles with the Canadian and Australian flags and makes them play a game of which country is better.
Oh, I love this part. It's so funny to watch them go back and forth, each one passionately defending their home country.
It's a lighthearted moment that reveals their genuine pride in where they come from. Even though they're both global superstars, they haven't forgotten their roots.
Reynolds, of course, gets very enthusiastic about Canadian seafood.
Oh, yeah.
Particularly the salmon from British Columbia.
You can tell he's not just saying that for the cameras. He genuinely believes it.
I wonder if he has a special salmon recipe. Maybe he'll share it in his next movie.
Now, that would be a crossover event. I'd pay to see Deadpool versus a giant salmon.
Okay, before we get too carried away with culinary fantasies,
Right.
let's get back to this epic battle for national supremacy. What else did they debate?
Well, they agree that Australia has the better slang, which is no surprise there, but they disagree on food and scenery.
Wait, they disagree on food, but Canada has poutine.
I know, right? It's a travesty.
I know.
But to be fair, Australia has its own culinary delights.
True. True. I guess it all comes down to personal preference, but it's great to see them both so passionate about their home countries. It adds another layer to their personalities beyond the superhero personas.
Exactly. It reminds us that even these larger-than-life figures have a deep connection to the places and cultures that shaped them.
And through it all, they're laughing, they're sweating, they're supporting each other. It's a testament to their friendship, their resilience, and their ability to find humor even in the most challenging situations.
And they're not done yet. There are still a few wings left, and the heat is about to reach its peak. Stay tuned for the final round of our deep dive, where we'll uncover even more insights and surprising revelations. They've tackled those fiery wings, debated the merits of their home countries. You'd think they'd be ready to tap out.
Yeah.
But then comes the real gut punch. The Hot Ones host hits them with the final question.
Okay.
And it's a doozy.
What is it?
He asks them, after all these years of playful rivalry, what's one thing they appreciate about each other more than ever?
Wow.
You can practically see the gears turning in their heads as they process the question through the haze of hot sauce.
Yeah, through the pain.
It's like suddenly the stakes are higher than just conquering the Scoville scale.
Right.
And then Reynolds, who's usually so quick with a joke, gets a little choked up.
Oh, really?
He talks about how much he admires Jackman's grounded nature, his ability to balance this crazy career with being a present husband and father.
It's the side of Reynolds we don't often see. This vulnerability and genuine admiration. It almost makes you forget that they're these huge stars playing these larger-than-life characters.
And it's not just empty praise. Reynolds admits that he struggles with work-life balance, that he tends to overwork himself. He even says that Jackman's example has been a positive influence on him.
It's really cool to see that even someone as successful as Ryan Reynolds can look up to someone else, can acknowledge their own areas for growth.
Yeah, it humanizes him, you know?
Right.
It reminds us that even superheroes have mentors and people they admire.
Then it's Jackman's turn, and true to his Wolverine persona, he keeps it short and sweet.
Yeah.
He praises Reynolds' work ethic, his talent, and his dedication to his family.
It's a simple but powerful statement, and you can feel the sincerity behind it.
Yeah.
There's a real sense of mutual respect and affection between these two.
It's kind of heartwarming, especially after watching them sweat and squirm through that hot wing gauntlet.
Right.
It's proof that true friendship can survive even the spiciest of challenges.
And that's the beauty of this Hot Ones episode. It's more than just entertainment.
Totally.
It's a glimpse into the complexities of fame, friendship, and the human experience. It reminds us that even behind those masks and superhero suits, there are real people with real emotions and genuine connections.
So we've covered a lot of ground today. We've dissected superhero suits,
We've debated the merits of Canada versus Australia.
pondered the impact of budget on creativity,
We've explored the psychology of costuming, the ethics of movie leaks, and the unexpected paths people take to find success.
and most importantly, we've witnessed the genuine camaraderie between two of Hollywood's biggest stars,
Yeah.
proving that laughter, vulnerability, and a shared love of hot wings can create a truly memorable experience.
But before we wrap up,
Yeah.
here's a final thought for you. What does it say about fame that even these incredibly successful actors still get nervous in unexpected situations?
It reminds us that beneath the glitz and glamour, they're still human just like us.
Yeah.
They have fears, insecurities, moments of self-doubt. And that's okay. It's what makes them relatable.
Yeah.
And ultimately, it's what makes their stories so compelling.
If you haven't seen this Hot Ones episode, I highly recommend checking it out. It's a wild, hilarious, and surprisingly insightful ride.
It's the perfect example of how a deep dive into something seemingly superficial, like a celebrity hot wing challenge, can actually reveal deeper truths about ourselves and the world around us. Thanks for joining us on this spicy journey, and until next time, keep exploring, keep learning, and keep those taste buds tingling.